Hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Stripology podcast. I'm Wendy, your host, and today is my 100th episode. Um, and reflecting back on this is crazy. But what it is just a dedication to keep showing up. Because it took me a couple of years of fear to start this. I really wanted to, a couple of years before I actually did. And now, fast forward, it's nearly 2 years in. It's the 100th episode. And yeah, I just really want to thank you for being here. I love hearing back from you guys of how different things have landed, how it's helpful. And yeah, it's just weird to think, when I sit in my little office that this gets broadcasted out, which is pretty cool. And in celebrating the 100th episode, I'm celebrating by giving back. And I'm going to be hosting a free workshop. So check your emails. If you are not on my email list, let me know. But I'll also be posting about it on Instagram. So check it out there. The free workshop, the title and topic is Creating Abundance with Balance. And the reason why I chose this topic is because it's been coming up a lot with the clients that I work with. And it was a massive theme in my own journey. And also, I trust what comes to me. I trust ideas that I get. It's something that I've cultivated through time. And interestingly enough, this topic has brought up a lot for me behind the scenes. Obviously, it's good to feel the feels because it means that you care. But I was like, yeah, creating abundance with balance, this feels good. And then it's come time to promote it and launch it and record this episode. And I've just felt like this massive imposter syndrome, which probably sounds weird because, even by doing something 100 times, like the 100th episode, it's like, cool, it should be pretty chill by now. And having done so many free masterclasses and workshops and, even paid events and all different things, it's interesting when you want to put something together and, from the heart, like what can come up around it. So, yeah, really feeling this big imposter syndrome. And, the thoughts that not instantly, at first I was like, yes, that is something, that's a topic that I'm passionate about, something that I support people with. And then the wobble hits and the, inner critic starts. And it's like, you don't know anything about balance. And then my brain, of course, goes to all of these crazy memories that are in my head, having lived through my life and, my realities and blah, blah, blah. And just, my brain is just serving me up these fucking hot mess dishes of the most crazy situations where I was so out of whack without any balance. And then I'm like, what do I know about balance? And it's so interesting that when our brain grasps onto fear, there's always evidence for everything. And that is actually a big part of creating abundance with balance, right? So I'm just going to share with you a little example of what my brain has served up for me as to why I have no idea about creating abundance with balance. And then flip it to, actual back to reality where it's been a big journey. And yes, I have learned a lot along the way. So let's go back to say circa, I don't know, 2017 or 18. And by this point, in my life, pure survival mode, just working flat out. And I'd probably been working 6 nights consistently for maybe 6 years or so at this point, flat out. And even before that, when I was at uni and I was working full time, studying full time, I was so used to just go, 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 go. because it was way too uncomfortable not to. So I didn't notice how out of balance I was until certain situations happened. And so basically, like I was working in Perth, working flat out, and I was in a booking. I had this couple that like had all these marital issues, and they used to come in and see me all the time and book me. And like basically, I think they only got along when they were at a strip club in a booking. And I was kind of like their mediator and like their entertainer, and like I almost became like the glue of their marriage. It was pretty intense, and like they started coming in more and more, and it was like great, like good bookings, like all night bookings with a couple, like, but mentally it was getting really a lot. And if you worked with me, I know some of you out there listening right now, you're going to remember this period and this time. And like, you know, of course, like I wasn't taking nights off because, the money was flying in, but I was like super out of balance. I wasn't resting. I was drinking a lot. I was like handling different people's emotions, like all of this stuff. And basically one night, like I just cracked. I just lost the plot. And I got somehow the manager there, like, anyway, I basically told her to go suck a cock, and choke on it. And like all is good now. But at the time, like, when you wake up the next day and you're like, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. And so my solution to my outburst wasn't I need to take some time to like recalibrate, like de-stress, relax, like not put so much pressure on myself, not be such a people pleaser, all these things, and like, lash out, and like felt pretty crazy. Um, so my solution wasn't to have a break, it was to fly to another city and work for a month straight, because I figured, well, change is as good as a holiday. And I was probably trying to like escape from myself. But the problem is, even when you change cities, you're still yourself, you're still in your head and your body. So then I start working in a club in another city in Melbourne. And I was in the midst of doing a month straight. And like again, this one night happened where I was pushing myself so much without a break that I remember waking up. I was being woken up. I was on a couch in the VIP. Oh, and the most lovely manager. Anyway, he woke me up, and I remember just waking up to his face going like, you can't be asleep here. You've got to, you've got to go. And I was just in such a fluster. I was like, oh fuck, I'm fired. Like, I'm fired. Like, I've ruined everything, like everything was extreme. When you haven't had enough rest, it's just like things can get really, really extreme, And the answer is actually just to like chill out, but no, no. So I was like, okay. So I'd obviously like sold VIP, gone in, got booked, fell asleep. My customer went and complained. And then the manager had to come in and wake me up and gently say, like, maybe you should go home now, back to my Airbnb. So I grabbed my stuff. I didn't go back to my Airbnb because I was so frantic. Like, I I have to work. I would like rest was not an option. So I got an Uber. I went from that club to another club. I had some girlfriends in the other club. I saw one of my girlfriends. I was like, I've just gone and got myself fired, like da da da. Like, I'm gonna have to work here now. I need to talk to the manager. And thankfully she talked some sense into me, and she's like, Buns, back then I was called Bunny. Buns, I don't think it's a good idea. Like, just go and sleep, and like, I'm sure you haven't lost your job, this and that. Like, but I don't think it's a good idea you talk to the manager now, like in the state that you're in, and like, you're clearly like really, really wound up. And I was like, oh my God. Anyhow, after this, so long story short, thankfully, I didn't get fired. I am so thankful because apparently the club that I was in fired people for a lot less. And especially having a customer complain. Like, if you know me, that is something that I would never, ever, ever want to happen because obviously, like, my whole ethos and what I truly believe is like about giving experience. So, like, to think, this customer paid and then I'm just asleep. Because I used to say as well, and this time I just remembered I used to like my dream would be to have a customer with a sleep fetish that would just pay to watch me sleep. Anyway, so thankfully I actually wasn't fired and I got to go back and complete my month. And by the end of that, I was like so burnt out that I saw a friend, and someone that I follow post, she hosts retreats. And you might see if you follow me for a while, like I love doing silent retreats and things. And she was doing a yoga teacher training in Bali, and it was a month in Bali, learning about meditation. And like that was such the beginning of a big theme for me, a whole other side that I brought in for myself to create balance because I knew like I need to remove myself. I need to be in another country. I need to be so far away from stripping that I have to rest. Like I couldn't have a night off because I could be making money, and there's so much under that. And I know so many people can relate out there that it's like it is really hard to gift yourself like a week off if you need it, a holiday, And the funny thing is, like, the beauty of the industry is the fact that we get time and money freedom. And then the other side to it is like we get to be our own boss. And so I was being such a fucking mean boss to myself. I was being like a tyrant. Like just I was basically a horrible boss, right, to myself. And it's like, well, why would I do that to myself? There was a lot there that I had to learn. And I definitely learned the hard way. And, thankfully as well, like my club in Perth, that I didn't get fired from anywhere. Like they saw from the external, like I don't know what it would have looked like from the external, but I know that they knew as a person, I'm someone that's obviously a hard worker and, I care about what I do and I just lost the plot, So I'm so grateful that they, just like, you know, no hard feelings, and just forever grateful, like for all of the support through, everything that I've like put myself through and all of that. And so anyway, went and did this month in Bali and it was bliss. It was like exactly what my soul was craving and needing. And I just didn't know how to give it to myself. It's funny, it's like we want one thing and sometimes we go about it in the exact opposite way of how to actually achieve the thing. It's like looking in, say, like a relationship, like say if you have like an unhealthy attachment and you just really want to be connected and close to someone, but you start acting like a psycho or something, and it's like you end up pushing them away when actually what all you wanted was actually closeness, and so it's funny, like all of the work that I was doing, like what I actually wanted was to just build security and freedom and time freedom to do the things that I wanted and to feel safe and to feel nurtured. But I was like doing the exact opposite thing to myself as to what I wanted. And so it was really looking back, like fear was in the driver's seat. Fear was in the driver's seat. And trust actually is a huge part of this story, trusting that everything is actually going to be okay, like trusting that the whole world isn't going to fall apart if XYZ doesn't pan out. Trusting, just so many different layers there, trusting yourself and your abilities and, things like that. And it's just such a different energy to come from. And like, obviously, I'm all about, working really hard and creating big things and, all of that jazz. But through a whole bunch of different experiences and, needing to learn different things, realizing that like it can be achievable in such a far more sustainable way. Because, for example, that month then that I needed in Bali, that's a whole month actually that I couldn't work. And like, it didn't matter because it was that or I don't know what, it was that or something that, I'm glad it was that. That was fantastic. But if I did things in a more sustainable way, I wouldn't have needed to yo-yo so extremely, because fear was driving the seat. Like, I can't rest. If I did have a night off, like, it wasn't true rest. It was like this fear-based, like situation. Or I would push myself to the brink of needing rest, whether it's I got sick or, I just snapped and lost the plot for a while or whatever it is. So yeah, this workshop is really about creating abundance with balance, because it is possible to work in a way that suits you and being connected with what that looks like. Because we all have different seasons, and different capacities. And, sometimes it might look like working a lot. Sometimes it might look like really reining it back. But it's being in touch with what is best is what's important, because there are lessons in the rest that you just cannot learn when you're like, pedal to the metal. And then there's lessons that you learn from going pedal to the metal that you just can't learn through rest. And so it's actually like cherry picking all of the gifts and sort of arranging it in a way that feels really good and actually is sustainable. And this can look like a big overview of the way that you work, or it can also look like night to night. There's different things that we can do, like practical steps that we can do each time that we work that fill our cup and working in a way that isn't draining and, is actually energizing, versus working in a way that's like you're pushing yourself and not basically, yeah, not working in balance. Like our customers feel that as well. Like the things that are driving us, like the reasons why and how we're showing up, that is actually felt. So yes, I look forward to this free workshop. So it's going to be on Easter, Good Friday, which is the 18th. The 18th, it's on a Friday. I love actually doing things on a Friday, I find, obviously, because the weekend it's on the heels of the weekend. And yeah, it's just a really great way to sort of step into the weekend with fresh energy, fresh ideas. As always, if you've been to any of my workshops or masterclasses, it's interactive. I love, speaking with people at where they're at. So if you've got questions around this topic, if you just want to learn, if you want to be in a community, then it's the place for you. And so it's at midday, which is in Perth, so Australian Western Standard Time. And I'll be posting more about it. So stay tuned and have a fantastic week. All right, bye.